Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over how to have success while playing more aggressively in Fortnite. This is a question I get asked about all the time, and I totally understand why. I'd guess that something like 95+% of you guys watching this video play with a controller, and controller players have a reputation for having very aggressive playstyles. And this isn't just some baseless stereotype either. When you think of some of the most popular controller players out there, their bread and butter when they play Fortnite is pushing fights that a lot of people wouldn't, winning them, and therefore getting a lot of eliminations. And I'm gonna be honest, in my opinion, that's hands down the most fun way to play Fortnite, especially if you get really good at it. Now obviously that isn't easy, and it's something that a lot of players struggle with, so that's kind of the whole point of this video, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so one of the most important and at the same time unfortunate tips for playing aggressive is to revolve your playstyle around your ping. The most important part of aggressive play is what you do when you force your enemy to box up. And I'm not going to try to hide the fact from you guys that ping does play a major role when it comes to being successful in that situation. It sucks, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. However, there's still plenty of higher ping players that are great at W keying, and it's largely because they follow the general game plan that I'm going to highlight in this section. So right now, I want you to think in your head about your average ping that you get while playing Fortnite. So let's talk about the luckiest players first. If your average ping is anywhere from 0 to about 25 or so, I'd consider you a low ping player, and the reason why you're lucky is because having low ping makes playing aggressively fairly simple. When you push enemies and hopefully force them to box up, you have 3 good options of what to do next. You can simply go up to a wall and try to break and replace it, and since you have really low ping, you'll probably be successful within about the first 2 to 3 tries. You can also try to phase through the wall by just spraying and jumping through it, which again will probably work a solid percentage of the time. Or if you know the enemy is really weak, you can even just spray the front wall with an SMG without trying to phase, and you might be able to sneak enough bullets through the turbo builds to get the kill. If you've been blessed with low ping, you'd be a fool to not take advantage of it as much as possible. I mean, just pay attention to the way I play. I try to abuse my low ping in every fight I get into, and I have no shame about it because even though I'd be the first person to admit it's unfair, it's also the smart thing to do. Now, let's talk about the players on the other end of the spectrum. If your ping is anywhere above maybe 50 or 60, you're no doubt a high ping player. The sad truth is, if you play on any of the major servers like EU, NA East, or NA West, you're gonna have higher ping than at least 75% of the lobby. Therefore, the strategies that lower ping players use won't work for you. If you try to break and replace a wall when an enemy's holding it, odds are it's not gonna happen. Phasing's a little less affected by ping, so that's probably your best bet, but still, you're gonna be less successful with that than the lower ping players also. And at 50+ ping, it's basically impossible to get bullets through turbo builds, so that isn't really an option at all. So when you're a high ping player trying to play aggressive, you're gonna need to outsmart your opponent instead of just powering through them by breaking and replacing. That means doing things like faking that you're trying to replace the enemy's roof, then jumping down and quickly taking or phasing through one of their walls. That obviously requires more effort than what lower ping players have to do, but it's really your only option. And for players with pings in between the two extremes, so roughly the 25 to 45 area, you're actually in a really interesting spot. My guess is that if you're someone right in the middle of that range, let's just say 35 ping for example, in an average game, you probably have higher ping than about half the lobby and lower ping than the other half. So I'd say start off every fight by assuming that you have better ping than the enemy until proven otherwise. Do something like try to break and replace or phase through a wall 1 to 2 times normally, and if you don't get it by then, you want to switch your mindset to assuming that you have a higher ping. And once that happens, take the same advice that I gave to the high ping players. Playing aggressively with an average ping requires a lot of adaptation because it's basically 50-50 at all times if the player you're about to fight has higher or lower ping than you. The next thing I want to talk about is probably the single biggest mistake that I see when players try to play really aggressive. Just because you want to be this ultra aggressive player and get as many kills as possible doesn't mean that you need to take every single fight you see, and when you do commit to a fight, that doesn't mean you need to finish it. The absolute worst thing you can do when trying to play really aggressive is turning into some sort of mindless zombie. You're just rushing towards every single enemy and fight you see without even thinking. You need to basically evaluate each individual fight that you have the option to take by considering things like the amount of health and mats you have. Did you get any chip damage at the beginning of the fight with your AR? How many enemies are there? Are they split or all together? Do you have the high ground or do they? Now, if your plan is to play super aggressive, maybe you only need to feel good about one or two small things to make the decision to push the fight. That's kinda how I am. But at least 1 to 2 times a game, I'll see a fight and purposely avoid it because I feel like the odds are totally stacked against me. You guys don't really see that much in the gameplay since I'm not getting kills and therefore I edit it out, but trust me, it does happen all the time. It's also a really important skill when playing aggressively to know when the best play is to disengage. No matter how good of a player you are, there are going to be situations where things outside of your control happen and put you in really bad spots. Maybe a whole new team comes out of nowhere to third party you. Maybe you get sniped from 100 meters away from a guy that's not even in the fight. Or a bad safe zone happens and now you're gonna get caught in the storm. Those are all situations where the right play is to either totally disengage or just chill for a little and hide while the other players around you fight each other. Just because you're playing aggressive doesn't mean that you need to fight till the death every time no matter how bad it's looking, because that isn't being aggressive, it's just stupid. The next thing I want to talk about in this video is the proper mindset and how to practice playing aggressive. I'll be honest with you, I'm someone who typically doesn't really believe that thinking positive or having a good mindset while playing really matters all that much. I think that with the mechanical skill gap in Fortnite, in most situations I'll take the absolutely cracked player who's raging at the game over the average player who's in a perfect mindset. However, one specific area where I do believe mindset is really important is when you're trying to play aggressive. It's as simple as this: you need to be confident, you need to be cocky, and you need to be the aggressor in the vast majority of fights you take. I made a video a few weeks ago where I talked about some mistakes that bad players make, and one of the ones I mentioned is that they're hesitant in box fights or build fights. Basically, they see an enemy start ramping towards them or making any kind of aggressive play, and that makes them freeze up, they become scared, they box up, and they basically give the enemy a free pass to control the situation and do whatever they want. When you see an enemy that you can push and you feel like you have an advantage while doing so, you need to be thinking, I'm better than this guy, I'm gonna ramp towards him and just absolutely bully him. Now, that alone definitely won't win you the fight, but you'll be shocked how many good players turn into average or even bad players when that happens to them. It's like that old Mike Tyson quote about boxing: everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. In terms of practicing playing aggressive, here's what I'd personally recommend. Go into any game mode you feel comfortable with: solos, duos, squads, arena, team rumble, doesn't really matter. And for maybe 2 to 3 days straight, don't worry at all about dying. Still pay attention to the tip I gave earlier about not taking fights you're practically guaranteed to lose, but other than that, push everything super aggressively and see what happens. No crouching around low ground and sitting corners for 2 minutes straight praying your enemy makes a mistake and walks into your crosshair. Play like you really believe that you're the best player in the lobby. It'll probably be super frustrating at first and you'll likely die a lot, but you'll also learn a lot, improve your mechanics, and become much more confident as a player, and that's a lot more important in the long run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. Do you personally consider yourself an aggressive player, a passive player, or somewhere in between? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.